just avoid the US border. So story after story coming across, Canadians who drive down there, they're turned away, or they're asked how they feel about the great leader in the US. And if you say, turned away and banned for 5 years. But a lot worse, and what's been playing on my mind for the last 24 hours or so, is I read a story from the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Australian woman, police officer in Australia, married to an American, flew up to visit her husband, who's in the American military in Hawaii. For whatever reason, she was detained. And then she went through 3 cavity searches. There is a word that begins with an R that is associated with that. And then eventually exported back to Australia. Of course, no crime committed. It is really significant. And now the shutting down of academia at Harvard University. I mean, long we say, Sorbonne, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. So hopefully those academics are welcome in this country. But that's a big, broader conversation. But the grift, the horrific abuse of power happening in the United States, the deterioration of democracy in that country, which is about a 4-hour drive south of me here, it is terrifying. So we just need to stay away, and we need to welcome, everyone else, to be honest, but this database of information. So hopefully after this all blows up in their face, as fascism always eventually does, then we can be there to help them rebuild, or at least create a safe space for people to then go back to that country and try and recover from this destruction. But it is just shocking and it's disturbing. And I have 1,000 of things to talk about, but this is the pressing issue. But let's just finish with the really weird cryptocurrency grift that the Orange Man did the other night. $220 million dollars or something, some weird thing for something he knows nothing about. And it's just a continuous grift. And his relationship with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all, it's all so obvious. But from a pure human rights point of view, just stay away from the border right now.
I regard the United States as the most lawless and dangerous country in the world by far.
And with that being said, I'm going to say this plainly, without sugarcoating it. If you're thinking about visiting the United States right now, don't. This is not a travel advisory vibe. This is a reality check. The climate here is volatile, unpredictable, charged. People are getting pew-pewed in places that are supposed to be normal. Schools, grocery stores, highways, churches, synagogues, neighborhoods. And yes, even white people are getting caught in it. No one is exempt. But let's be honest for a second. If you are a person of color, if you are black, if you are brown, if you are yellow, you are not just visiting a country. You are playing Russian roulette and entering a risk zone. That's not hyperbole. That's basic math. Between political extremism, racial hostility, gun culture with zero breaks, an administration using Gestapo-like law enforcement, and a Republican-led government pouring gasoline instead of water, the margin of safety is razor thin. One wrong interaction, one wrong assumption, one wrong place at the wrong time. And before anyone says, but it's not everywhere, that's the point. You don't know where it will be next. Vacations are supposed to be relaxing. Sightseeing should not involve hypervigilance. You should not need an exit strategy on vacation. So if you're abroad, stay abroad. If you are planning a trip here, redirect it. Your money, your joy, your safety. Put it somewhere that actually values all three. This isn't anti-America. This is pro-life, pro-safety, pro-reality. Protect yourself. Choose peace over passport stamps. And do not let anyone guilt you into ignoring what you can clearly see. That's the warning.
Canadians have decided they're no longer okay with Americans flag-jacking. What's flag-jacking, you ask? That's when you're from one country and you claim to be from a different country so that you don't get blowback at customs, immigration, or even just people on the street. And since W was in office in the early 2000s, There's been some Americans that when they travel abroad, they try to act like a Canadian. Well, Canadians say, we're no longer going to be your emotional support country. You deal with your own country and you leave us out of it. You don't get to claim that you're Canadian just because you don't want to be picked on when you travel abroad. Everything wrong with your country is because of what Americans have done to it. So don't drag us into it and act like us. And some resorts in Europe are teaching their staffs facts about Canada. So when people say they're from Canada, the staff can pick out the real Canadians from the Americans, because the Americans will say they're from Canada and know nothing about it.
If Donald Trump went to war with Canada, I would fully support it. Because what y'all have done with these wildfires has completely ruined our summers.
If there is one thing that Americans never have in short supply, it is the fucking audacity. Because where do you get the gall to come on these apps and complain about how inconvenient it is for you that Canada is on fire? Like, how dare we burn? Like, excuse you, I'm so sorry. Like, that there is acres and acres of indigenous land that is burning, that there are entire communities of people who are stranded, trapped, but oh my god, how dare we ruin your summer? Like, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm really legit gonna lose my fucking mind.
What happens when one of America's closest allies starts spending less and buying fewer American products? Across Canada, some consumers are choosing local alternatives, cancelling US trips, and changing where they spend their money. Now, businesses on both sides of the border are asking an important question. Could politics be reshaping one of the world's strongest economic partnerships? Let's watch more clips and we'll come back to talk about it.
A new poll just came out that found 76% of Canadians believe that Canada, along with other countries in NATO, should move on with the alliance without the United States a part of it. Those 76% of Canadians say that under Donald Trump, the US is an unreliable and damaging partner to NATO. Do I think Donald Trump is going to pull the United States out of NATO? Maybe. Maybe not. The United States makes a lot of money being in NATO because they then force the other NATO members to buy their military equipment from the United States. The problem is Donald Trump's vision for NATO is that basically every NATO country's army is at the pleasure of the United States and Donald Trump. And as we just saw with Iran, that is not the case, as all countries refused to go help the United States and Israel attack Iran.
One of America's top allies, Canada, is now saying it's time to move away from the United States. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, said something that should really get our attention. This should horrify us. He said that what used to be strengths, close ties to the United States, have now become weaknesses. Take a look.
Foundations of the international order, the order which Canada helped to build and from which we have long benefited, that order is crumbling. And many of our former strengths, built on our close ties to the United States, have become our weaknesses. The U.S. has changed. That's their right. And we are responding. That is our imperative. We are responding with speed and ambition, focusing on what we can control, which is to build our strength at home and diversify our partnerships abroad. Abroad, we've secured more than 20 economic and security partnerships across 4 continents in less than a year. We're re-engaging with global giants like India, China, and Brazil. And we're deepening our partnerships with our closest allies, including the European Union, the Nordic countries, and Australia. As a result, we're attracting the strongest investment in the G7. And we're on track to double our non-US exports within a decade.
After hearing these stories, one thing becomes clear. The United States and Canada don't just share the world's longest international border. They share one of the largest trading relationships on earth. Every day, billions of dollars in goods and services move between the two countries, supporting jobs in manufacturing, agriculture, energy, tourism, and small businesses. When political tensions rise, it's not just government that feel the impact. Hotels lose visitors, retailers lose customers, local businesses see fewer sales, and communities on both sides of the border can experience the economic ripple effects. At the same time, consumer boycotts are nothing new. People often use their spending habits to express political or personal values, whether others agree with those decisions or not. The bigger question is whether prolonged political dispute end up hurting ordinary workers more than the leaders making the decisions. History has shown that strong economic partnerships are built on trust, cooperation, and stability, not just political agreements. So, what do you think? Should consumers use their wallet to make political statements, or does that ultimately hurt everyday families and businesses on both sides of the border? Share your thoughts in the comment respectfully, and before you go, do well to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next.